You're doing that now.
Well, it is that time of the evening again, 7:30 p.m. Hi, I'm Sergey Brown, and tonight we're going to check in with Don. We solved some issues today with our technical issues, and I think that it should actually even work better tonight. Baby, who do we have in the chat tonight?
Human beings here. Christy's here. Vectum's here. John's mom, God's child.
Oh,
LaShawn.
hola.
Laurie Holmes. Lots are already saying hello to everybody.
It is already a good night. I have got two incredible guests, Paul and Will, both meteorologists, and they have come up with something absolutely amazing when it comes to directed energy weapons and, of course, the weather. So let's bring them on. Paul, Will, how are we doing there? Paul's right in the center of the camera. Will is over to the right. For those of you watching at home.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, absolutely. And so I am wondering, we were talking a little bit earlier, and you had mentioned about the directed energy weapons that you're dealing with there. What do those weapons look like? What are they comprised of? Do we know, or do we just see the damage that they're doing?
Well, I figured this out back in 2013, and was playing basketball, and I was expecting snow to come up from North Carolina to my house in West Virginia, and it just wasn't happening. And so I'm shooting hoops to try to get rid of the tension. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, did I just see a fox face over South Carolina on the satellite picture?
Right.
So I went back to my phone and I look and I'm like, oh my God, yeah, there is a fox face there. And it just took off from there. I just kept looking at different satellite photos. And before I knew it, within a week, I discovered there were numbers, letters, images, pretty primitive though.
Yeah.
And then, as they move forward, fast forward here to like 2025, if Will wants to take it over here, they've gotten pretty detailed now.
Yeah. So just so our audience understands, are they clouds or are they radar signatures that are being shaped into these letters and numbers?
So they're being burned through the clouds. Oh, okay. Well, yeah. So they have a variety of ways to do this, and they have satellites, they have aircraft, and they have drones. So now in 2025, what you see is when it's from a satellite, you'll see a straight line come down on the radar picture, and typically it's like a north-south oriented straight line, almost looks like a missile.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you get to like the aircraft and stuff, if you're looking at the satellite picture, you'll see them burn numbers and letters, but as they get like a couple 100 miles away from where they're located, and that makes sense because if they're up, 30, 40,000 feet doing this, the beam is going to begin to scatter, and you're not going to get as much energy into that cloud to design your shape, number, letter as you would if you were directly over the target. And then they have drones, and we see these, more for drones like little puffy cumulus clouds.
Right.
And the resolution is really low, like 1-2 kilometer scale, and they'll draw out numbers and letters in there. So we have quite a plethora here to show you.
So before we get too far in, Will, I'll start with you. What is your background in this?
So mine, I was in the private sector for a couple of years with a company, and you're immersed in the weather community every single day. You live and breathe it, and that's what individuals like ourselves do. We love this like no other. And it comes a point where you're sitting in that office, and I just had a moment where something just it's that feeling that this feels off.
Mm-hmm.
We're having severe weather outbreaks like every single day, and we see it in the headlines all the time, all the flooding, and there's a new story somewhere. So
right, I mean we've seen that in Texas, Oklahoma, New York. Right now, Washington D.C. is being flooded out. We've got New Mexico and Atlanta. I mean, it's like nonstop.
Right. So I was looking at it was this was May of 2024, and I was looking in the southeast, and I just saw some things down there that were uh, shouldn't be there.
Right.
Weather patterns that are remaining quite stationary, and so really from there, the rest kind of opened up from that.
Mhm.
I met Paul in late November, sometime early December, and I remember a post I saw he had from his on his page was some of the lettering burned into those clouds that said AI neat.
Mm.
So the letters AINEAT, AI neat, and it was all laid out right there. And curiosity killed the cat. That's the rest came from there. I was interested, convened with him, and it's really just expanded from there. There's really seldom will a day go by that we're not exchanging what's going on here. And
Exactly.
the things we
One thing
see.
that we
And
have seen is, I am not a broadcast professional, but we're also not part of the mainstream media cabal. And so, people that have a passion and go get it are just phenomenally well educated. We deal with a lot of people who do that same thing. Paul, what about you? Can you tell us a little about you before we get too far into this?
I've been forecasting weather since I was 3, so I'm 44. So this has been my life, eating, breathing, drinking, sleeping weather since I was like 1984,
Oh my goodness.
a little kid. And when I was, I would say about 20 years old, I figured out how chemtrails worked.
Hmm.
And I was driving back through a snowstorm down in southern Maryland, and I got to an intersection in Bowie, Maryland, and all of a sudden the sky just opened up. And as I'm looking up, I'm noticing that there's 3 aircraft going right through, and I could see just the clouds dissipated as soon as they went through them. And I said, "This is weird." And then I watched other follow-up aircraft that morning just tear up the precipitation, and I'm like,
Right.
this isn't strange. This was January 3rd, 2002, so this is 23 years
That is
ago.
awfully
I
specific.
remember it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember it like it was yesterday. Um, and since after that, I was able to start looking at satellite pictures and saying, okay, these things have distinct signatures.
Yeah.
So if I'm running this project, weather is half art, half science. So you have to be able to visualize, especially in 2002, where the weather models weren't so detailed as they are now.
Hmm.
You had to have a lot of visualization and artistic brain thought to be able to say, where do I see this storm going? What are the inputs to this
Right.
storm? And if you were going to run the project, you would have to be able to identify these signatures and identify them quickly as to where they were running the operation. So right then and there, I said, okay, these satellite images have to be unique. The cloud signatures have to be unique. So I took ground photographs, and then I compared them in real time to the satellite images from the GOES satellite images, and suddenly, oh, hey, there is a unique pattern here. And then the physics takes over. It's like, okay, so now how do these things interact with the jet stream? How are they moving storms? And suddenly I was able to figure out that they had 2 different types of sprays. One stopped the rain, and it
Hmm.
often glowed red in the distance. So looking through a bunch of materials, I figured out it was aluminum. So
Right.
they used like aluminum for like red cathodes in your old
Cathode ray tubes.
TVs.
Yeah, exactly. TVs.
Yeah, and that's where they were coming from, because I was like, well, they had to have something where they can manufacture it or have the base to manufacture it and get the materials.
Hmm.
So then I noticed there was a second spray. It looks milky white, and this spray is plastic fibers with endothermic bacteria. So this spray will look, like a milky white, but in the distance it looks yellow. So when I was looking through materials, when you actually understand how clear plastic works, they can only refine clear plastic to a certain point and remove only a certain amount of the pigments. So when you get to a long distance, a few miles, and you put it up in the air, that plastic's still going to have a yellowish tint. And that's
Right.
exactly what I saw. And the reason they use bacteria is because every single raindrop that you have, or every single ice crystal snowflake that falls to the surface, needs a piece of dust, and that aerosol the type of aerosol determines what temperature that ice crystal is going to form. So if you use bacteria, and anyone, if you want to Google this, go ahead and type in, bacteria, ice crystal formation, what temperature, ask Gronk, and they'll tell you it's around -2 degrees Celsius. But if you took an actual aerosol sample of like just a random cubic meter of air or cubic foot of air, most of the aerosols are going to be around -12 to -15 degrees Celsius when you're going to get that ice crystal that's going to form.
Right.
So if they're able to spawn the ice crystals earlier in the process by, a warmer temperature, that means it's going to be lower in the clouds. And then you can actually get large hail from that because of the fact that now you're starting that ice crystal, you're starting that seed at a lower elevation. So when it goes up into that updraft and then circulates around and tumbles, your core to that hailstone is going to be bacteria.
Exactly.
And if you take a look at the largest hailstones, like in the last 20 years, they all have bacteria cores.
Wow. That is crazy. So I know that these radar signatures are very strange. Do you guys have any pictures so the audience can get an idea of what you're talking about?
I never thought you'd ask that, Serge.
Well, there we go. And that's the magic of television.
Oh my God.
We're going to come in guns a-blazing here. Let me get the shared screen here, and we're going to...
And Dawn, do we have anybody asking questions in the chat yet?
No, they're all just listening.
Okay.
And, talking about the Saharan dust.
Oh, yeah.
And the cirrus clouds look like white smoke.
Yeah, the cirrus clouds, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it is... Oh, there we go. I like that picture. Oh, well...
Let me get this going here. Okay. Very quickly too, Sergey, before we get into some of these things, I want to speak to as well just the whole scope of the academics around, what it means to be an atmospheric science meteorologist and people that have their duty to protect humanity and keep people safe.
Right.
There's meteorologists out there that they don't see any of these things. They refuse to see these things, and they'll resort to name calling, anything that will degrade you. And keep in mind, these meteorologists, they're still out here forecasting weather. They're trying to keep you safe. So, my word of advice to these meteorologists: don't cut yourself short.
Right.
I was in the same. I promise you, I was in the same boat. 3 years ago, I was skeptical of these things. Of course, you're aware of them. But I never really turned that stone over, and then everything kind of falls into place, and the rest speaks for itself. And this is a true shame. It's shameful.
Yeah.
To have an academic discussion in an academic ring, with these meteorologists, and everything is sunshine and roses until two words come out of your mouth, and that's weather modification. As soon as we say those two words, the demeanor changes, the attitude towards you changes, and
it can't change now because the head of the EPA, Lee Zeldin, has come out and said, oh, by the way, what we've been telling you for the last 60-some years is not true. We actually do have these programs. Hold on one second. I think we got a question from the chat.
Vectum asked, did they have to sign a gag order?
Did you guys ever sign a non-disclosure?
I did not, no.
Okay.
For my company, it just didn't require that kind of security.
So what are we looking at on the screen here? Go ahead.
Is Paul?
Yeah. Paul's in the middle, baby.
Right.
And
okay,
Will is on the bottom.
Captain Undergotten says, Paul, can you tell us about the CIA visiting you, which I saw you mentioned before? We'll get to that, or you can answer it now.
So Yeah, I'm gonna answer it now real quick. So in March of 2002, after I figured out like, okay, so how are these signatures on the satellite picture being able to move storms, and how do they combine it with the GFS? And back then it was the ETA model, and you still had the NGM. I don't know how familiar your uh, weather history goes back. So I was able to start forecasting around them, and I was successful. And then suddenly, this guy named AC Griffith, he died in 2010. He shows up at my parents' house and then wants to have a discussion about how I figured this out.
Yeah, I guess so.
And basically, I had a quantum physics weather model I was working on, and I hadn't had all the pieces of the puzzle put together yet. I had a lot of it. I just didn't have the data to really, or the computer skills when I was 20 to like be able to handle 700 cities at once. It was just whatever I took readings in my own backyard for highs and lows and precipitation, and they wanted that. And I said, well, are you going to give me a job? Do I get like a civilian scientist job? No, you're going to hand it over to us. And I said, well, I'm not handing anything over. And then he says, well, you're either going to do business with us or not at all. And I said, I guess I'm not at all, because I want to get paid somehow for this.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my goodness.
Good story.
Yeah. So did they ever get back at you? Have you have? I mean, I wouldn't doubt what they're probably digging through your computer on a regular basis. They're all over your phones.
Yeah. My computer, my dad's computer, because I was broken in college and just a stupid physics major at UMBC. We had two viruses in 2002. It wiped all my research and material out. So my research and material start in 2003, believe it or not. I lost everything from March of, actually January 2002, all the way to like December of 2002.
Wow.
Everything's gone.
Oh my
I lost
God.
everything. And after the second time, we went through. My dad did some IT stuff for the post office in his second job. His first job, he was a radar and satellite tech at Westinghouse Defense.
So dang.
We went.
So this is in your blood.
Yep.
Yep.
So he did a little background. We figured out NSA was coming through the backdoor keys to the computer. So back then, you had to dial up. And every time I would go to post something, we would just get kicked off. I'd go to post something on a message board. As soon as I got it done, boom, somebody would call, and quite frequently, you could do the *69. It was an NSA number.
Right. Oh my goodness. Yeah. All right. So, Will, with that said, what are we looking at on the screen here?
Actually, I'll let Paul speak on this one. This is his
so
photo,
Paul,
so this is his work. I'm not going to steal his phone.
All right, Paul. So anyway, what are we looking at?
Okay, so back in 2014, I had friends of mine that lived in Dayton, and it kind of fell through. I went out there, and they needed we were just going to play Modern Warfare for the whole day, and their babysitter fell through. So, they just knew me from Xbox, so they weren't going to invite me over around their kid. So I went over to the Air Force Museum in Dayton, Ohio. And I was going through the Air Force Museum. I was like, holy crap, look at this. It was like the Project Space Solar Reflector. And my dad worked defense back in the 80s and 90s. And what they used to do is hand out like coffee cups and different types of T-shirts. And if you knew what the symbols meant on the different programs they had, you could decipher some of the technical capabilities of that satellite or radar system that they had. So I said, well, maybe this is all involved here. So let me look at the satellite picture that they had next to it. So do you want to show that, Will? Can we?
Oh yeah, let's go right ahead here.
This is one of their first satellite. No, that's not it. It's the one with the 3 off of Florida.
Oh, we don't have those ones. I'm sorry.
Oh no. Okay.
It's okay. We got plenty. I got this big one here.
Yeah, so anyway, there's a bunch of dots in this satellite photo that make out a number 3 right off the coast of Florida, and it's hanging right in the Air Force Museum in Dayton, Ohio, back in 2014. I was like, well, there it is. I had been tracking these numbers and letters for over a year at that point, and I was like, oh, they're advertising. This is them. this is clearly them.
Right.
It's right in the Air Force Museum, hanging up. And I was like, well, there we go. Confirmation.
That is crazy. So, why are they putting numbers up there?
That I don't know. Like, it could be, I kind of speculate because I'm not part of the project.
Right.
I kind of thought maybe it was, they were using different frequencies or different power outputs, or they were just trying to be able to where if you looked at a satellite photo, you would know from an archives perspective, because there are satellite archives that go all the way back to the late 60s.
Right.
And if you were able to go back through there, you would be able to see what they did. And I think they wanted to make it kind of simple to where, okay, yeah, we zapped this location here,
Mm-hmm.
and here's the numbers. And those numbers mean something. I don't know. I don't know their code. They never hired me. They don't want me. So
you didn't want them.
That's
Yeah,
what
I
I'm
didn't
under
want
the
them.
assumption too. If you ask, if you ask me, my assumption again, it's some kind of code based thing, but that's speculation. But what's we have to be careful here. What's not speculation is the fact that these signatures are there.
Have
that
you
we
noticed?
can speak to.
Have you noticed any sequences or patterns that these numbers follow? Is there a way to say, we had a 3 yesterday and a 4 today and a 5 tomorrow, all of a sudden you got a little pattern or a sequence going? Is it anything like that, or are they are these numbers longitude, latitude, or are they just right now abstract?
Well, let's I'll speak to it now, and we'll answer that a little bit later.
Fantastic.
With some of the sites. But some of the numbers and images, they depict a story. I mean, we have letters, we have shapes as well. It's not just numbers.
Right.
We got geometric figures and shapes, and they do tell a story sometimes. Sometimes they don't. It's just you'll see like an 8 or something, and it shows where that zap occurred, and it'll be visible for probably about 10 minutes or so. You can see them pretty well, and then they kind of dissipate, or they respect the bounds to whatever the synoptic environment is. So they'll kind of move in the direction, whichever the winds are going aloft. So what I wanted to kind of get into here is we're going to play first I want to try to set a little bit of an understanding for our viewers on what can we manipulate and what can't we manipulate, and what are those bounds, because we need to set those first. I don't want our viewers to be confused. The last thing we want is to show these images and people are just more confused than when we started. We'll tease a little thing right here off the coast of Africa, get you guys thinking a little bit on this, and then I'll get into a little bit of some of those conventions of what we can and can't manipulate, and then we're going to have a lot of fun. We'll get into a little interactive game with some of the shapes and figures here. We got 5 examples, and one of them includes Tropical Storm Chantal from a few days back, and Paul and I were deeply focused on that. I know everyone wants answers on Texas. Unfortunately, just with my personal observation, I haven't had time to get to it. But we'll talk about this tropical storm. So here's that first image, and I want to challenge the viewers. If you can see something. This one, I'll drop a hint. We got a face sitting off the coast of Africa, and I'm curious if any of the viewers can see it or point that out. We'll wait a couple seconds here, and then we'll reveal it and we'll show it.
There's a lag, so it'll be a few seconds. But while we're waiting for the answer, Super said, where'd she go? Some symbols are wild for the weather squadrons of the USAF.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my God.
Oh yeah, looks pretty evil.
That is crazy. And I actually like the hair on that one.
So this one, I want you guys to note the date here too. Oh, I can draw. Look at this. Oh, hold on a minute. Let me get. I'll do a laser pointer. I want us to note. Look at this. Is 10 years ago. This is almost 10 years ago. This is August 4th of 2015. This is Paul's image. It's not mine.
Right.
But this goes to show again. This is an example. We've been in some good company for plenty of years with this.
Yeah. That is phenomenal.
So let's get into some of those bounds of what can we manipulate and what can't we manipulate. And simply put, I'm going to start with one statement here and kind of go off of that. The chemtrails help sequester and confine your precipitation. So a lot of the chemtrails are a function of sequestering and compartmentalization of precipitation.
Right.
The direct energy weapons can help with localized excitement, propulsion, and localized guidance of the precipitation based on where you're zapping in that precipitation field. So this is a network of small scale applications working together to get your larger picture, if that makes sense.
Right. So are the directed energy weapons what's creating that face signature in there, or the numbers or the letters?
Yes, it's some of that's involved. It's polarizing those ice crystals. You cause what's called an electron avalanche. When you do that, you're polarizing water molecules, and you'll get an acceleration out ahead and a deceleration behind it as a result. And that's some of the signatures that we talk about with that we can see these things show up on radar. There's, as Paul pointed out, it's a combination of your UAVs, your low Earth orbit satellites, doing some of the zapping, and then you have your essentially your condensation nuclei vectors. You have your chemical trails. You have your ground-based generators. We have ski resorts that snow machines
Right.
up in upper elevations. So it's important to note that it's a network of all of these working in tandem. It's not just one. The chemtrails are here. It's there's just going to be severe weather out in an hour from now. It doesn't work that
Right.
way. If we, and I'll say this, if we could, this could be a great pivot to an example here. If we truly had total control over our weather, you would see Category 5 hurricanes in March. You would see blizzards in Dallas, Texas in July.
Right.
That's just not the reality. We don't have that, and so.
But we did
have
just have a snowstorm the other day in Germany.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So, and 2 weeks ago, it literally snowed here in the Panhandle, while Texas was having a heat wave. And to my knowledge, I dug into that. We've never had that happen in the history of our weather keeping, where we've had, that big yin yang symbol with the weather. Did you guys catch any pictures of that? Because that would be very interesting to see, what is going on with that as well.
I'm sure we can go back and look at some of those, but that's a great question you asked, Sergey. And the problem is that helps, it helps muddy those waters.
Right.
You're dealing with your natural inputs. So I call it your steady state atmosphere. And in this context, your steady state atmosphere is one that is untouched by any of these operations.
Right.
So imagine like you have your big bowl of stew, and you have all your severe weather ingredients. You have you name it there.
Yep.
And you're sprinkling that pepper and that salt in there. Well, the problem is treat that weather location like we're sprinkling more pepper in there, and no one told you we did that.
Exactly.
That's how I kind of want the viewers to have more of a gauge on it, okay? Because if we sit here and we play wolf and call every single small thing weather modification without much of a basis behind it, it's not a good argument. So we have to be very careful with some of those things here. So this will be getting into a little bit of a pivot. I want to point out we're going to combine the climatology with the local capabilities again, and from a complete climate-based perspective. Let me check the time here. We got 30 minutes. Perfect. From a climate-based perspective, this is how severe weather over the past 30 years has gravitated based on geographical location across the United States. So that's the climatology.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I want to show you guys just today. This is just today. Oops, I skipped the slide. Wherever my SPC outlook is. Here it is. This is the SPC outlook for today. And I want us to note, look at where that severe weather is. The severe weather, it's where we really expect it to be.
Right.
This isn't anything out of the usual. But the problem is, you can have people that and we'll have people that will look at this map and just go, oh, this is unusual. This is and that's a huge problem.
Yeah.
When that happens. So when we have a setup like this one, let's go into kind of the climate of this. And this is really about the most technical we'll get. In the summertime, we get our heat waves. I'm going to go into a surface map here. Let me get drawing tools out for this.
I have someone saying Will's connection is going in and out, and he's having a hard time following.
Yeah, Will, your connection is going in and out. People are having a hard time following you there. Paul, can you pick this up and because we're catching
parts of
your conversation, Will, and it's just not coming through.
That's a little strange. Yeah, let me turn my volume up here.
So what we have is a weather pattern currently that you guys say is fairly normal for this time of year. Is that correct? And then what happens is they will affect that weather. But I find it interesting. I completely, I don't know this stuff as well as you guys. We here in Boise, for the last 2 weeks, it has been beautiful. Babe, hasn't it? I mean, have we seen much in the terms of geoengineering here?
No.
I think
no planes, nothing.
I think that they're using the heat here to drive the regular weather. My issue is that we have also seen, July 4th, 5th, 6th, this massive amount of flooding that's going on even today. We can't necessarily say when we have people like Lee Zeldin coming out and saying, yes, we are doing this kind of stuff. I just posted a video today of the, off the shore of California and Oregon. They're spraying like crazy, and then they're hitting it with radar. My question is this. Have they lost, they being the United States government, DARPA, NOAA, NASA, have they lost control of controlling the weather at this point? And now are we seeing, are they letting the weather kind of reset itself? Paul?
Anyone?
It's a kind of loaded question. You want to talk first? Well, go ahead and talk.
Go ahead, Will.
Yeah, go ahead. Am my connection better? Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
It's still popping, but let's give it a try. I say we give it a try.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a shame. I don't know what's going on. That's a bummer.
That's better there.
Okay, from what I've observed, when Paul says that's a loaded question, there's a huge economic section to political. And ultimately an intelligence war. Now, The case when we were watching Chantal a few days ago, it became quite evident that you have two groups of people. You have your energy weapons group of people, and you have your chemtrail group of people. Ultimately, they're under the same black operations or dark operations branch of funding, but it seemed like these two for a moment were not on the same page. And what I mean by that is, um, where we see the direct energy weaponry occurring versus where chemtrails were laid, it gives a conflicting
Right.
signal. A lot of it is there's a huge price tag attached to this with the energy sector, natural gas.
Yeah.
So, Will, you're just breaking up so much that I can't follow you. Paul, can you pick it up and kind of clear this up for us? And
Sure.
And Will, I hope you get something fixed there, because what I am hearing is very interested. Go ahead, Paul.
Yeah. So basically, the whole premise here is we're $37 trillion in debt,
Yep.
and we have $10-15 trillion worth of trade deficit treasury bonds floating around. So every one of these energy price spikes that we have from the weather, because the weather is the number one swing demand for energy, whether you're heating your home,
Right.
cooling demand from the power plants. So that swing isn't necessarily built in to the production supply model for industry and the oil industry, like the suppliers on the oil side and the gas side, and then the demand for like your chemicals, your fertilizers, everything they make with natural gas. So the weather is the number one key, and in order to control inflation, you have to be able to control the weather.
Right.
So every politician wants to get reelected, every politician wants to keep their party in office. So as a result, they're able to modify the weather for that particular reason. And now that we're $37 trillion in debt, they need that in order for the Fed to cut interest rates. So Trump can't have the interest rates cut if you have a massive energy deficit, and
Wow.
you're having all these energy price spikes. When you look at like your normal food production, even though like the industry average is like 6% for fertilizer costs, and again, fertilizers are all your feedstock for fertilizers is all natural gas.
Right.
But when you look at like corn, wheat, soybeans, half the farmer's cost is from fertilizer. And then the other hidden cost is when they go to harvest the corn, the wheat, the soybeans, you have to be able to dry that out in order to mill it and process it. And that requires natural gas as well. So the whole food energy paradigm is all connected. And if you're, we're in a massive inflation route because Congress doesn't really seem to care about budgets anymore. If you got high interest rates, all you're doing is adding to the federal outlay, and you're just ballooning the deficit and the debt even more. So the only way that Trump can really cut interest rates is to be able to tamper down the inflation side. And in the summertime, the positive feedback loops for heat waves are, simply put, when you have a drought, it's just a positive feedback loop because you have such intense solar radiation from the sun. The sun's directly overhead. You have long days. You wind up having droughts. The crops don't grow. You use a lot more energy than you did before, and it becomes a festering inflation kind of thing. So by adding water, as much water as you possibly can get to as many areas as possible in July, you really kind of tamper August and September down a little bit.
Right.
So
Yeah.
remember, and Trump's goal is to get those interest rates down. So, part of me is like, is this still a black operation, or does Trump have a part? Like, did they move it from the executive branch? Because he had to know that first term that this thing was real.
Absolutely.
He had to.
Paul, hold on. I
So,
think we've got a question coming in.
John-
Baby, what are they saying over there in the chat?
John's mom, godchild, says, how does that align with Texas getting slammed with floods? Isn't that a huge energy area?
Yes, very, very large energy area. When you're talking about this much water, and again, I haven't had a chance to look it over. We were so focused on Chantel, and my focus was on the Carolinas getting flooded, and that's on my X account. You can go back a few days, and it's there. I covered it in real time. My focus was there, and it's really impossible for me to go back and carry on to 6, 7 different locations at once. It's just, I just happened to pick it because it looked like a threat to where I lived and where my parents live and
Yeah.
family is. But if they were to do, all that flooding, you got to consider Texas has lots of permits for weather modification. So it could be that you had a combination of everything at once. You had a tremendous amount of water, you had a tremendous amount of atmospheric lift, and then you had maybe 6, 7 different weather modification programs targeting the same region at once. And that could be possible because they might not all be on the same page. And the only people that would know that would probably be the Department of Environment in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
That might be where you find that information out.
See, I'm telling you, Paul, you've just woven together the entire picture. I don't know if you understand how powerful that is, what you've just done here, because this is something that we are not hearing about. We talk about the financial, we know that trillions of dollars a year are drained out of the taxpayer fund for the geoengineering projects. But the missing piece has always been, but why? And I think that you really just wrapped up very nicely with a beautiful bow, by the way, on it. Just exactly the why of that. So moving on, I think that we need to understand that the manipulation is multi-pronged, multi-tiered. They're doing some things for this reason and other things for reason two, and so on and so forth. Can you guys speak to that at all?
Will, how's your connection down there?
Yeah, well.
Yeah, let me. Is my connection better? I tried closing some things up here.
Yeah, it sure seems like it so far.
My headspace was making sure the tech was okay. Could you repeat that for me, Sergey?
You're sounding a little better so far, but I'm hearing a little click every now and then.
It's the Bluetooth.
Okay.
That's why we're all hardwired in with our headsets.
Yeah. So it's got to be the Bluetooth.
Yeah.
Let's see if we got a little better connection with the Bluetooth off. Will, go ahead.
Well, what were you asking again?
So we know that there's a multi-pronged approach, just like any war, right? You do things on different tiers for different reasons. What are the tiers and reasons that you guys have seen? And I know that you've got a lot more screen shares in there. What does that look like?
Well, let's try it here. I'm going to go ahead and third time's a charm.
Beautiful.
The only answer is that I have for you is financial. It's financial related. You want to have a say in some of the markets, an economic foothold. Let me go here.
That's a good picture.
So let's get into. Let's get into some of these here. We're going to get into 5 cases of what this direct energy weaponry looks like this is a radar. From radar, some of these will be satellite based.
Right.
The first thing we'll do, this will be on GIF, so we're going to watch a loop on the radar, and we're going to see, this is the Denver airspace. We're going to see a 3 turn into a 5. There's also a 16, and the entire precipitation field resembles that of a seahorse. So this is a little bit of that interactive game I want some of our viewers to get into here. We'll just play the GIF here and feast your eyes on it, and then we'll kind of reveal some of these things here.
Perfect. And Paul, we might have to have you take over because Will's mic is just popping in and out still.
A couple people have say disconnect the Bluetooth and reconnect, or Christy says just take the headphones off and just use your speaker.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead, Paul. What are we looking at here?
Okay, so we're looking at a thunderstorm complex coming out of Denver, and Denver kind of has a unique setup where you have the mountains that run straight to the west of Denver, and then you have the foothills east of Denver. So what we have here is a MCS coming from the Rocky Mountains and through Denver, and what you're going to see here is we can see a number 3 right there,
Right.
and then it turns into a 5, and then now we got a seahorse. And if you want to move forward, Will, we can highlight that.
So that's that 3.
Yeah, that's amazing right there. Yeah. And then there's the 5 coming in.
Okay.
Right? And then we got the seahorse. Look at that. Or the 3 horse.
Yeah, you have
See
that.
what I did there? 3 horse.
Oh my God. Good eyes.
Yeah. That is crazy.
We have dead air.
Yeah. Well, I'm just looking at. I'm looking at that. I'm just absolutely amazed that that is happening. Now, when I was young, I would make shapes out of clouds. How do we know that these are being manipulated, or versus it's just naturally occurring?
Yeah, I'm confused. Why are we caring about numbers? And
Exactly.
seahorse?
Pull your mic forward, baby.
Sorry, I'm like, are we saying that they're purposely making these shapes?
Yeah. Guys, are they?
Absolutely. This is deliberate. I can't speak to, I don't know the exact reasoning as to why, but we're on here today to show you that these are here, they're present.
Perfect. Well, we've got 14
more. So.
We got 14 more minutes left. I'd like to see as much of this as we can.
Yep. Move on to another one.
Let's go take a look at more.
So here's number 2. This is the tropical storm.
Yep.
So here we're looking at long wave infrared, and I want us to focus right on the southeast quadrant of Tropical Storm Chantal. The center circulation sitting about right here.
Mm-hmm.
It's trying to get an eye defined in there. We can see somewhat of a resemblance of an eye wall here, but it's could look a little more impressive. But I want us just to focus on kind of this area in here. And what you're going to see is there's JAN, and there's a 6 in there.
Jan, like Jan Brady?
No, it's January 6th.
Oh, JAN. Okay, there we go. So
Yes.
Jan.
So-
Brady.
So I want us to look right down in here in this area,
Right.
and we'll see right here. This is where it is. And if it's a little unclear, we can put this just on simple water vapor. On the floater, mesoscale floater, it's a little bit more high resolution. This is the J right here. This is the A
Right.
here. And the N is a little bit warped. And the reason why this N looks a little warped is, again, we have to think about the angle at which this is casting that imprint on that phased array satellite. So here's kind of more of that highlight on this.
Right.
To see what's going on. And you talked a little bit about, what do some of these shapes and numbers mean? Some of them are a little bit of a play on us telling a story.
Mm-hmm.
And the way I've interpreted at least some of what's going on with Chantal, you can see where heavy precipitation was placed just to the west of Durham, Raleigh area. And
Paul, I think you're going to have to take over again, because I'm getting every other word or less, and I'm trying to follow it, but it's so difficult if I can't hear the words.
Yeah. So one of the things I wanted to bring up back a couple of minutes ago was, I just wanted to interject the point. We figured out that there's an artist behind this, and it's the same artist, and we think that this artist is like coming up with prefabricated images that they're going to use ahead of time. So they upload it to a computer system, and then in order to be able to design this as quickly as it's coming through on the satellite pictures, this has to be AI controlling, or
Right.
some sort of program that's controlling the satellites and moving those lasers at really quickly speed. Because if you have phase array satellite coming across a low Earth orbit, you might only have a minute or two to be able to design what you're going to design.
Exactly.
So they have to be uploading the images to the satellite, and maybe AI is taking over the whole process, but it's being uploaded by what seems to be one artist. It's
So
the
it
same
looks very
artist for the
Andy
last couple
Warholish to
years.
me. I could be wrong.
That's one of the questions. Who's placing these numbers and words and how?
Yeah. I think you're going to have a very high level security clearance to find out who's placing these numbers. And the how is, the guys correct me if I'm wrong, but the how is they're doing it with the directed energy weapons, like a laser weapon. And is that weapon coming from the Earth, or do you think it's coming from the satellites?
A combination of them, because now they have ground-based lasers to knock drones out of the sky, and they put them on ships too as
Yeah.
well. That was a concern over in the Red Sea, where we had the little scuffle with Iran. A lot of the ships, well, I mean, from what I have read, I don't know directly, but from what I have read in newspaper articles, the ships had the direct energy laser weapons, and one of the problems they had with the
9
ship
minutes.
commanders and the people on there was that you have more time than you realize to knock them out.
Right.
So that was something I had read. So you do have some ground-based in there, but also, again, the three big components here, you have satellite-based, Reagan Star Wars from
Right.
the 80s, and then you have aircraft with lasers on them,
Mhm.
and then you have drones with lasers on them,
Right.
and they map out different sizes, as I was alluding to earlier, and this has to be from a set. Well, it could be from like a KC-135 or
Right.
C-130 with a laser. It used to be what was called AWACS plane.
Exactly.
It could be something along those lines doing this, because the end is kind of, you can see it's at an angle. So
Mhm.
if you were directly over top, you could just burn right through it or design whatever you wanted to design. But the angle, it's going to kind of shift everything a little bit. So it is probably, given the orientation here, it's really not low Earth orbit. It's probably an aircraft.
Right. So do you
big
think
one.
it's possible that they are marking these storms with these signatures so they can actually track that, right? Because if AI is doing it, they have to have some way of saying, all right, humans, here is the storm we're tracking. Do you think that could be the reason that they're doing something like this? And we also know that AI has been around a lot longer than they tell us.
Mary Magma says Adapco Incorporated makes spray equipment that is GPS equipped. Use GPS for flow control and recording.
Mm-hmm.
So we got 7 minutes. I just pulled my Bluetooth off, not to interrupt here, but we got 3 more cases to roll through.
Let's go.
Let's do it.
I'm going to skip over this. There's a whole totem pole of 2s sitting in the top right. It's up here, but we got some better examples to run through. This is also the remnants of Chantal when it was dissipating, but there's a totem pole of 2s sitting in there.
Right.
This one's a very clear-cut one. We got a 232 in eastern Ohio and western Pennsylvania. This is back on June 17th. Again, I'll roll through a few loops
Well,
here.
that's like a chewy nougat right there.
It's hard to miss this one. It really is. Here's the markup on it. We're looking in here. So I'll roll through one more time before I spill the beans here.
It's in that circle.
Yeah.
Yep, it's right in here. And again, there we go. We'll roll this through.
God, you guys have good eyes.
Yeah.
They're sneaky. They're very sneaky. So there's what is this? 30 minutes later, you can still see it. It's there.
Yeah.
And there's a slew of 3s down there in eastern and southeast Kentucky. We can see those as well. Threw that in there. Those ones are smaller than the 232 we see up north, but it's there as well.
Right.
It's another example of these numbers. So this is my profile picture at Weather Drops. dissect my profile photo. It's a penguin or a dolphin. It's kind of sometimes they'll have simultaneous images going on with this. It's like the kind of the story.
Right.
We'll watch the loop, and I want us to look right at the center of circulation of this low, right where we see all the yellows.
Yeah.
So this is, you'll see a penguin or a dolphin for a moment in time. Right there.
Yep.
There's an arrow first, and then
you
it
almost see a
turns
second
into
one right. So we got the arrow there, and then that's the penguin,
Mm-hmm.
kind of a dolphin. And there it is there. We'll run through a couple slides. Right there, just in case it's not viewers can't see it.
Right. Exactly.
Wow.
That's incredible.
So,
that is awfully. Boy, that's.
Sergey, you tell me. Have you ever seen a penguin for a center of a low, a mature cyclone low, and you got a penguin wrapped in through the dry slot?
I am amazed. You'd figure with that much wind going around there, you wouldn't have something that could hold that shape for that long. Am I reaching here? It seems like that's incredible.
It's jaw dropping. It really is.
Yeah.
This is and it's the emotions I get from this. It's kind of haunting, and at the same time, it's pretty incredible that this is what we can do locally with in storms.
Exactly. It makes me wonder. The conspiracy theory or the rumor that we're living in a matrix. Boy, oh boy. I mean, it really looks like somebody is toying with us and saying, I'm going to drop my penguin in here and just let people have fun watching this guy.
It is finished, says.
It's truly amazing.
It is finished.
It
says,
really is.
I will never look at storms the same.
Yeah. Who said that?
It is finished.
It is finished. I'm telling you.
After this interview, just wow and grateful.
It's just incredible. Go ahead, guys. I didn't mean to interrupt, but it's shocking. It's absolutely shocking.
We got one more
Perfect.
here. This is Amado. This one will blow your socks off. This is time and date related. We're gonna look at this entire precipitation field. So we're talking all the way from the Dakotas, Nebraska, Iowa, Wisconsin. You're looking everywhere on here. You're gonna see the word Amado spelled out.
Oh,
and there it is. It's right there.
I see the M.
Yeah.
It's like this.
Yeah, I see it.
And the joke to this is I want viewers to pay attention to the date. It's June 26th of 2025.
Mm-hmm.
And Amado was called where it was right here. He's the Mexican drug lord. He's called El Señor de los Cielos, which is the Lord of the Skies. So they drop in it's little Easter eggs.
Yeah.
And then you go, oh my goodness, this guy had involvement with our intelligence agencies with a whole ring of drug operations. So this could be paying a homage to Amado. It could be teasing it. It could be poking at it.
Or just like everything else, it could be a code word for something else.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
June 25. If we go to June 26th of
we've got
24.
We've got 1 minute. But before we do anything, I just have to say, because I forgot to say it last night, Pat and Jesse brought us our interviewee last night, the gubernatorial candidate Anthony Hudson from Michigan. They're building the Michigan Clear Skies movement there. I just wanted to say they're doing a fantastic job, and thank you so much for bringing Anthony into the Clear Skies movement fold. Go. It is on you guys.
Come on, Paul.
Real quick, You can find some of my work. This stuff, it's on my YouTube at Modified Weather Watch. Just type it in. I make it a little storyline, so it's interactive. You guys can play with these things.
Perfect. I love that. All right. Well, I am going to wrap it up because we're going to be running out of time here. Well, I've got, we've had on our ticker both of your guys' handles. Can you guys drop some of this stuff and explanations into the TCSM USA, our national community that you both belong to anyways? Can you post it? And Paul, I would love to hear more about the financial side of it. I think it's very, very important.
So have them
So
on again.
I'd love to come back.
Yeah, absolutely. We definitely will. All right. Well, guys, I am going to bid you a good night.
I do.
Thank you so much for coming on the show tonight. For all of us, I'm Sergey Brown. Dawn.
Oh, I'm Dawn.
There we go.
I'm reading stuff.
Paul, say good night.
Good night.
Will. We'll see you next time.